All right, so basics quick tutorial, how to translate names and then do a name card for your students. So first, you could either follow along and do this on your own Google Docs, or you could copy this formula from the Google Docs that's in this video. So first, you see something like this. Basic, something I came up with. And then you have kanjis, the hiragana names, but you don't have these. Last name, first name, English name. You simply click and you write, whatever, however you want to name it. But I do suggest that you do have this row of data. So first we're going to look at splitting up the names, first name and into last name. We could do this with the split function. In Google Drive, or in Google Docs, there's this function called equals split, and then it's splitting our cell C2, which is our first name, last name, into the appropriate following cells. So if a person has first name, middle name, last name, you'll need to have a special column here to have a middle name. So add as many columns as you need before adding the English name. Next, how do we copy this function to the rest of the names? You're going to select the actual cell that has the split C2. Click on the blue box in the bottom right corner of that cell, press, hold, drag down. As you can see, there's a little bit of a outlined dotted dots around that, and we release. It now split everything into first name, last name. Next, we're going to take this and we're going to translate to English. And the way we do that is with the Google Translate function, and we're going to translate what's in cell E2 from Japanese to English. You look at the Google, like what they support, what they don't do, what they do in here, and there's a lot of other cool functions you could do in their, Google Docs database. I will link this as well. Really useful for some stuff. Now, once we come back to our sheets, you click on the name, which is going to have the Google Translate E2, which is this cell right here, cell E2. And it's going to go from Japanese, JA, comma, English, to English. You could either do one of two things. If you leave it blank, then it's going to be right here. You can also put parentheses aside afterwards, so if you wanted to, do something else with it. But I prefer doing it simple. And once again, click the cell, click the blue box, click and hold till it shows up and all the way down. Bam, it translates the names to English. Now, the reason why I added Sakura to this name as a standalone name, due to the fact that it translates to cherry blossom. And there's going to be a lot of other names that do the same thing. For example, if you go Aoi, it's going to do also the same thing, where it's going to translate it to blue. So even though her name is Aoi, it's going to translate it to blue. So please manually check with a Japanese teacher if your hiragana is not good, or your Korean, your Chinese, your Russian, whatever language you're translating this from to. Then we copying all of this with a simple copy. I'm going to create a new sheet and I'm going to paste it with values only. This way it doesn't have the formula in it. We're going to use that for later. Bam. This is in here. We now have to save this file. So download it. Microsoft Excel. That's what we need to use. How to translate. That's the way I call it. Call it and save it wherever you want. This way is going to be easier for you to find. Yes, in my case, we're done with Google Sheets. We'll close this. Next, open up the name cards folder. You could use whatever you want. This way, it will say this thing. Click no, doesn't matter for us now. Then we're going to go and how we're going to actually manually insert every single name without typing them all out. Because, for example, in my school, I have 1,000 students. That's another kind of a headache. We're going to mailing, and then we're going to select recipients. And we're going to use existing list. In Japanese, I will post a screenshots of this as well somewhere. And it will show you the step by step in Japanese. I don't know how to do this in Korean because I did this on my school computer as the students' data is private. So use existing list. I'm going to go to my desktop. I'm going to select my sheets, and then I'm going to select my second sheet because the first one had the functions. We want something without the functions. Click OK. Then we're going to be selecting names here. Bam, select names. And then we're going to go into Insert Merge field right here. And we're going to insert our English names. That was the column that had all the names that we translated into English in only values, not formulas. Bam, that shows up there, but we see this N in front of it. I don't know why I have this keep popping up. Bam, we could preview our results. You could preview your results, and I do suggest you do this, especially for longer names. This is how it's going to look for all of them. You see, cherry and sakura blossom will not fit because of the fact that it's two and it's too long. So then I'll wait back to fitting. So with this, you could then play around with the actual length of this area. And it's more about up to you. You want to do fancy fonts, you want to do something, you want to do forced width, you want to do like this, where every single time it pushes it out as big as it could go, right? So cherry blossom once again is too big, but like oh, but blue, it forces it to be bigger, as big as it's allowed in that case. So next we're going back to mailing, and we're now going to print all of these. So we see we have well, I have a few records. We're going to go from up to 4. So we're going to finish and merge. This is how we're going to print it. We're not using the Control P function. We're not using the print documents unless you want to print a single name. Then you could print a single name. Otherwise, click Print Document, and we're going to go from 1 to 4. Click OK. I'm printing to a PDF printer. That way I could show you how it actually looks. I'm going to click OK. I'm going to save it on desktop as check. Come on. Bam, it's saved to desktop. Also, things to note. I made these basic photos. You could change out this basic photos for anything else you want that you want to insert into your document. So if you want to insert it and you want the kids to be able to read it when the name's facing up, make sure that the photo is flipped upside down. So for them, it's going to be face side up, and for you, the name's going to be face side up. You could also insert the Japanese name here if you want, doing the same thing where with the insert field, and you could do the kanji, the hiragana, the whatever. And so you could insert them there. So now that we're done with this, save, and we have our check. So once again, here's how it's going to look when it's going to be actually printed. Kesuke, Kazuki, user, Tayo. So simple way to print a bunch of name cards. There are templates, and I will also try to add this file to there as well. All right. Hope you enjoyed. Peace.